I was horrified when I began to hear about the conditions at the Ottawa-Carleton Detention Centre here in our nation's capital, in one of the richest, most progressive countries in the world.
Anytime I've had a client who's from out of town who's been able to compare their experience at OCDC, has consistently said that their experience at OCDC has been the worst.
Ottawa-Carleton Detention Centre is awful. I'm telling you, animals are treated better than they are at that jail.
I'll call whatever you want, but this problem is not going away, and it's only getting worse.
The institution is a remand centre, so it's supposed to just hold people for a short period of time. That was its original purpose. The truth of the matter is now a vast majority of people will spend a year and a half waiting for trial there.
At the root of it is the extra number, higher numbers of people on remand. There's about 8,000 people in our institutions across the province. 60% of them are on remand, which means that these are people who have been denied bail, they're waiting trial, so they are still presumed to be innocent. That number has doubled in last 10 years.
Time spent in remand centres, like the Ottawa-Carleton Detention Centre, is tougher time because there are far fewer programs, services in a facility like that than there are in an actual provincial jail, which is set up for, a long-term stint.
The cells have a capacity of 2 people in them, but if they have to overcrowd, they put 3 people in there. You got your 2 bunks that are one on top of each other, but they just throw a mattress in there, and it's basically the mattress is beside the toilet.
Yeah, there's a lot of people sleeping on the floor. There's ants on the floor. I've seen cockroaches there.
The third person sleeps on a mat on the floor beside the bunks. You have a choice of getting walked on or pissed on.
I'd had a client who had actually been classified in the healthcare section. Even in that healthcare unit, he was sleeping on the floor because the healthcare unit was overcrowded.
In OCDC, there's really no programming. Sometimes there's meetings, sometimes there's not. But there's no rehabilitation in jail.
Nothing to help, nourish the offender's mind, right, in order to help him, see a little clearer.
Inmates are supposed to be entitled to 20 minutes a day in the yard, whereas in the last 6 months in particular, but over the last year, inmates may go a month or more at a time without ever getting access to fresh air and natural light. There's a lack of adequate medical treatment right across the board, but it's particularly severe for people with mental illness. And there's a very high proportion of inmates who have mental illness.
Proportionally higher and higher number of people with mental health and addiction issues coming into our care and custody. Right now, by our estimates, and these are self-reported, so I would say to you, I think the number is higher than what is self-reported. 25% of people who come into our care and custody have mental health problems.
People who have mental illnesses are just thrown in with the rest of the population. And typically what happens is if they freak out, which they naturally and frequently will, they'll get thrown into the hole, into isolation. And we know from literature that the very worst thing you can do to somebody who has mental illness is to isolate them.
I'm getting these really sharp pains in my stomach, and I'm like, something's wrong. The pain's starting to come back to back. A nurse comes to see me, and she's like, well, we'll keep an eye on you. That's it. A little after that, I felt like a gust, so my water breaks. Still being ignored at this point, and now it's back to back. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't lie down, something's seriously wrong here. I put my hands inside of myself, and I feel my son's foot. I start counting the toes. I'm looking down at my son's foot. I know a baby's not supposed to come out feet first, and my son's probably suffocating at this point. They're like, at this point, you need to push. So I push 3 times. My son's born on my bed in a jail cell.
I think working there is another way of doing time, actually. It's a toxic environment in many ways. It's psychologically toxic a lot of the time. It's physically toxic.
The staff that works there, it's like you could see the difference from when they first start and then they've been there a while.
It's just not fair to expect anyone to work or be housed in that kind of an environment.
It does not serve anyone well in the community or society in general if you've got this revolving door of individuals coming into institutions, doing their sentence, getting back in the community, and in again. I think that's a waste of resources for everyone. There is a tremendous amount of cost that is involved, and we all pitch in as taxpayers.
People get released into society, and they would get released into society damaged people. And there's no reason why they have to come out damaged, because families are affected, children are affected, wives are affected.
The most important thing I would like is for the public to be able to see the human faces of the prisoners and their families.
My view is I don't know what more needs to be assessed or studied or examined or analyzed. I think the time for that is well past. The time for action is now.